This tutorial is to show you how I make glass nibs for all the ink pens I make and sell for Misery Glass. Notice that when people write, they grab the ends of the nibs really close so that they get ink on their fingers, which is why we start with Marias. Little Marias to keep your hands getting away from the nibs to get ink all your fingers. But then we start with the nib by making a little gather. I'm using this blade to press the grooves into the nibs. We start from the end of the Maria, then you press or roll your blade away from the Maria. This blade in particular is really nice because of the point. I'm able to get right up to that Maria, press away, and then that gets a nice little groove. That's where all the ink gathers into. So more grooves, more ink. Deeper the groove, I guess you also get more ink. Make it as centered and as straight as possible. Then we'll do the same to the other side. You don't want to heat up the glass too hot to where you start losing some of the details. You want to make these grooves nice and crisp throughout the whole process. And in the beginning, you are able to heat up the glass pretty hot to get the groove started. Later on, you will have to be more delicate with it. You get to decide as many grooves as you want. I like to do 8. Feels like a lucky number. And I'm able to make them pretty symmetrical. Heat up half the glob. And then we start the next one. Make it as centered as possible. This technique is very similar to making a leaf pendant. If you've seen any tutorials about it, you are using a blade to cut designs into the glass. I have the gather right at the end of my marver to make it as parallel as I can. And right here you can see a little mistake. That little glob got pushed towards the Maria when I pressed the knife, while the other ones were right at the Maria and pressed away. And then we roll the blade, tip of the knife, and then the Maria, roll the blade down, and instead of pushing it, that'll push the gather away from the Maria. This is where I pushed it together towards the Maria, and now there's a gap. This will affect how smooth the ink flows down to the nib. So it's better to fix this now. And it's a quick little fix. Right now there's not that many grooves into the gather, so we could heat up pretty safely and then repress them. Looking pretty symmetrical. That's pretty neat. It's a nice little design. Gonna heat this up, press from the tip and roll to the blade, and fixed. The more grooves you start to press into the nib, the more texture you're trying to go after, the more delicate you have to be heating. You only want to heat up part you're trying to work, not lose any of those grooves. If you have a bigger, bushier flame, you might start to melt some of that details. You can make as many as you want. Some people use optic molds. I don't have one. I haven't been able to find one that I like. And I think it's funner this way. You can see when I was heating it up, some of the grooves melted away. So we're going to connect it. Quick press. You have to be committed when you are making these last couple of grooves. You're not able to heat up the entire piece of that glass nib now. We'll be making the pull for the writing section now. If you want to make your nib more tapered or more rounded, it will depend on how much of that glass nib you heat and also how quickly you make this pull. Starting to heat this up, get your punty ready. Start to see a little bit of the glow, trying not to lose those details, those textures you just spent your time making. Quick attachment, steady pull, quick little pull. Thinner the stringer, the more fine line you will make. Thicker the stringer, the more bold line you will make. Then we do a quick little flame cut. And in the flame, you can kind of see some of that detail on that pool still. Once the glass cools down, we're able to break off the end, sand it, and polish it. That's how you make a writing nib out of glass without optic molds. So hope